Hello my dear students, today we will be learning about idea generation. Idea generation is important for product design, whereas in this idea generation we generate ideas, find out solutions, and we actually find out the practical solution for this. So we can use various techniques for this one, and in this lecture we are going to learn some of the techniques which we can use in idea generation. This is one of the most important phase of product design. So idea generation, it is also called ideation. In the context of product design, it refers to creation, finding and developing ideas, solution and products. So what do you mean by ideas? Idea is something like, something which you have in your mind. Okay, this may be one possible solution for this problem. Solutions are where little bit more concrete in terms of a solution, which means it may be sketched, it may be CAD model, and products are purely minimum is CAD model, 3D model, and then it could be virtual model, and it could be physical product also, testing also. Okay, so these are products. So it is a creative process that requires creativity. So idea generation is a phase in which we generate a lot of ideas and it requires creativity. And so what is creativity? Creativity is a process by which a person or an agent generate ideas that are both novel and useful. Which means that in creativity, it will going to help a person to generate ideas and solution. However, there are two things there. That is, one is this creative ability. A lot of people may have creative ability, but until they do creative activity, they will not be creative, right? How can you measure creativity? How can you say that it's creative? So we have to actually solve a problem, find a solution. And it should be novel and useful. Novel is something which is new, and useful, it should be socially useful. So ideation or idea generation is a creative activity which encompasses generation, development, communication of new thoughts and concepts which become the base of innovation. So creativity is important for idea generation, and idea generation is something which is very important. It's a part basically for innovation, to make something innovation. So there is something called innovation and invention. Invention is something new, and innovation is where you apply and make it something which is going to be useful to the society. So when we are talking about idea generation, creativity, as we tell, is indispensable for an ingredient for idea generation. And anybody can be creative. Okay, do not think that your friend or colleague has done this creative work, so it means he is more creative than this. Actually, until we try, we will not know what is creativity, right? How much creative we are. So researchers have found out that if you practice, use methods of creative methods are there: brainstorming, analytics, idea generation, then six-head thinking, then also group discussion. There are several methods are there. So all these methods are basically helping us in generating a lot of ideas, which some of the methods we are going to learn in this lecture itself. So anybody can be creative, and try to be more creative as much as possible. Creativity can be developed by knowledge and learning, which means that creativity, if you say that I wanted to design an aeroplane, and I want to show my creativity there, until somebody has knowledge, which is difficult, right? Whereas if you start designing small products which is confident and you know the technologies of this, take for example, you start designing some kitchen utensils, start designing some mechanical systems, mechanisms, okay, some kind of small robots, and then use Arduino to automate it and all these things. So this you have to learn also, and this learning and knowledge is important to help us in generating ideas. Creativity directly affects innovation, which means that innovation is important for sustaining the society for any business, and creativity is important for this. Success of any company is dependent on innovation, that we already know. A lot of work has been done, a lot of research has been done. I can also give a lot of reasoning for this, but this is not the focus for today's class. However, success of any company, as we know, it is important that they are innovative, continuously innovate new product they innovate. So any company, you see the Samsung, you see there are innovation is there, right? Previously Samsung used to have this small mobile phone which is non-touch screen, ABCD written, then slowly we have this Samsung touchscreen mobile phone. Now we have this foldable mobile phone, right? So these companies are innovative. They are making a lot of innovation. And innovation not just about invention. There are so many other things also there, right? So invention, so creativity is going to help in idea generation, solution generation. That is going to affect the invention and that is ultimately going to have the innovation. Now there are a lot of research has been done in conceptual design. There are many researchers who have told that conceptual design is important. Some of the research I'm going to show here, but more researches can also be found out in the literature. So conceptual design is a fundamental or indispensable forerunner to further detailed design, which means that if you think that detailed design is important and ultimately you have to make the product, conceptual design would give a lot of importance, because conceptual design is going to affect your detailed design. And this is true for across from the student level project to the company level project and even multi-billion-dollar bigger projects also. Conceptual design, and the previous statement was done by Carney et al. in 1997. So in Stephen et al. In 2003, they are telling that conceptual design is one of the key stages in the design process, is considered to be the most difficult phase in engineering design, with success dependent to a great extent on the expertise of the designer. Which means that it is difficult phase because the solutions are not straightforward, right? New ideas are need to be generated. So it is one of the difficult phase, and experienced designers are required for this. So it's not that novice designers cannot do, but they need to understand that a lot of factors which are going to affect the success of any design process, especially in conceptual design. So experience, knowledge of designers is going to play an important role. Then French in 1985, he expressed that this is the phase of product design that makes the greatest demands on the designer, and where there is most scope for striking improvement, and where the most important decisions are taken. Again, French is telling about the importance of conceptual design. Here, it is demanding for the designers to think what kind of solution we need to find out which is most suitable, and also satisfy all the factors which are related to the product design specification that we have already learned, right? There are so many factors we need to take care. And even after taking care of all these factors, we are not 100% sure that the customer is going to like this, right? We also don't know when the company is doing parallel innovation, other companies are also doing innovation. And nowadays many companies they can even take and purchase some products from the foreign market and maybe modify them and try to sell it, right? So things are not that straightforward. And that is the reason we have to be very, very focused and innovative especially in the conceptual design stage itself. Rogers in 1999, Rogers et al. They tell the continuous growth of design knowledge and ever increasing complexity of design problems and that has really generated a lot of fields of design specialization. So what that means probably is that there are so many design knowledges coming. You can see nowadays people are designing footwear, people are designing car, people are designing automobiles, luggages, soft goods, experience. There are so many different kinds of products they are designing, people are designing, companies are designing. Apart from there are also that experience design, design of SCI, design of toys, the variety of designing, and that is required. There are a number of areas, new areas of design specialization. So there is no this is exactly required for this kind of a specialization. So there may be some differences in terms of the requirement for this. Of course, there is some general flow of problem solving across the different discipline. However, we should understand that there are a lot of differences in the focus. There are some designers who will be focusing on soft good design, luggages, experience design, and some people will be designing computer, and some people will be designing in the mobile itself. There are designers who are going to design the outside casing of the mobile. There are designers who are using the GUI. There are also people who are designing each and every when you click a app, what is going to happen? Okay, what are the first thing the users are going to see? What kind of buttons one should use? What kind of icons one should have? So there are varieties of designing which are required for each and every product which we have. So design is a knowledge intensive process. Designers require creativity as generative design knowledge, which is an integrated part of the conceptual design process. And conceptual design is the main and the most important part of designing for any product or services. So what you see here, this time and again, there are various researchers who are talking about the importance of conceptual design. So to remain competitive, companies should be able to create novel and appropriate solutions, appropriate products, processes and approaches. Research suggests that some level of creativity is required in any job, and not only for conceptual design, but any phase of design, creativity is something which is very important. And this is why it is imperative that companies to be creative in order to achieve excellence in their work. So it's not that manufacturing people don't require creativity; they also require creativity. They also need planning. But how to keep ourselves consistently creative in this competitive environment, which is very important to understand. Now we are going to the problem solving steps. In this slide we see that problem understanding. First is anything else we have learned about problem understanding, how to analyze the problem. There are methods are there, and we try to find out what exactly the problem is. And the solution generation, we generate a lot of solutions, right? And this is what we are learning now in this lecture. Then solution evaluation selection, we are going to learn later on that we are going to evaluate the solution for the right kind of product design specification and the requirement of the customers, and select the best one or best two and make the prototype, and then find out the best one, and then go for only one solution of this process. If required for the next problem, we will do it again, right? So when you're talking about creative problem solving, generally our mind generally think that okay, creative problem solving, what kind of problem which we are facing, and what kind of problem do require creativity, right? So if you see that there is a beam and you keep some particular weights and the 50 kg at the end of the beam, and this one beam is going to be locked, and then put the force and find out what should the deflection. This is very specific engineering problem. So if a group of designers solve this problem and find out deflection. Another group of designers are going to solve the same problem. Most probably they will have the same kind of solution. Whereas, so this is the, and there are a lot of problems which we come across which requires very specific engineering knowledge, and the solution of them will be same or very similar irrespective of the which group they are, which we are using. Because there is very mathematics involved, analysis involved. However, there are some certain problems which is like difficult to define sometime, and it requires creative understanding of those things. So in terms of education, let us take some examples where we see the problems are very open-ended, like lacking motivation of the students. How do you make students to motivate to learn? This is one of the challenging problem for any faculty members of any good engineering college. So sometimes you will see the students, some students who sitting in the front of the class, they are very active, and then some of them not. So how do you motivate everybody? And then completing so much of any faculty members, any task is very important. All this teaching, research, departmental work, and managing time is difficult. So for any faculty member in top engineering colleges in India, they find very difficult to actually find out time for doing all these things. Teaching, which is very important, which is minimum thing which we need to do. But apart from research, departmental work, so how do you manage time for all of them, right? Then if you some faculties are new, some faculties are maybe multiple years they are in an organization, in institute, they may find that some of the courses which has been taught before need to be updated. So what updation is required? What to include and what not to include? Because time again for the lecture is limited, right? You have so many number of classes, so many number of weeks. So what exactly you will do? Will you which portion of the syllabus will modify? So this is again a difficult task to decide. And this requires some kind of not only just planning, it also need to think a little bit more. Then funding. Nowadays, any organization for any top level IISc, IITs and NITs and other top government organizations, many of the faculty members are more inclined to research and publication. So for that, funding is required. How do you get funding? However, this kind of problem which is there for the faculty members are little different from the problems which is there from the students. But they are also having a lot of problems, and some of them are similar, some of them are different. So from the student point of view, if you see that the problem like too much of work and subjects to read. If you ask any first year, second year student, as a student, if you ask, are you happy with the number of courses which you are taking? Some of them will say, oh, there's so many courses. There are 6 courses they have to take, and there are course assignments, tutorials. So, but they need to give importance to all the courses. Okay, almost not always equally, but depending upon some kind of logic which they can use. So it is not that it is difficult to plan for these courses. Then there are also assignments, labs, tutorials, online lectures, sometime offline lectures. Then they have to visit labs also, do some exercises. So again, managing time is something which is difficult for the student. How do you manage time? And sometimes students feel stressed. So how do you keep them motivated? How do you keep the students motivated? How do you keep themselves motivated and calm? Because so much of stress is there. Then distractions. This is one of the most common thing which is there for the student, distraction. Nowadays many students are getting distracted. So the question is that how do you have stop themselves from distraction from social media? So sometimes social media may be useful, but not always, right? There is a limit for that. How do you going to make things working? So now, so all these problems which you see that there is no straightforward answer. Like I was talking about the beam example, where irrespective of the group which they are going to solve, the solution, the values which are going to come is almost same. Sometimes it's exactly same, sometimes a little bit different because of other reasons. However, this problem which just now I spoke, this is not a straightforward. If you give two different people, the people are having different ideas, solutions are different, right? So what is required is creativity, and creativity leads to innovation. It helps in problem solving, it helps in invention, it helps in product design, it helps in education, it helps in product teaching style, it could be used in learning also. So all these things are important for creativity. Next is, now we are going to think about solving a problem. When we try to solve a problem, what we should do? What is the best approach? There is no one size fit all. It depends on the type of problem which you are having, type of company which you are working for, and also group which you have. So the first thing is coming in our mind is that you can take the problem to solve it, and knowledge, we gather the knowledge from this existing solution. Can we solve this problem? If it's already solved, can we take it from the available resources like books, journals, website, encyclopedias? So some problems we can solve easily using the available solutions. Past experience. So many designers may have designed maybe a water bottle, and again he has to design. So he is going to experience the past knowledge. Somebody would have designed casting machine. So they have experience, so they are going to use their experience to make another casting machine. So this is going to be useful for those people who have experience. However, if the problem is new, so neither the designers nor the experienced people can help. You have to generate new ideas. So no past knowledge is there, no experience is there. So here is a place where creative thinking is coming in a real requirement, and that is creative thinking is required. So when you have a problem understanding, you will see that for creative solution, first of all, problem understanding, which we have already seen. So problem understanding is where you understand the problem nicely. So when we go about understanding the problem, so you should see that we have understood the problem very nicely, because our mind is getting influenced by the people, by our own knowledge. Like in a customer, if you see this image, customer is explained in this way, a project leader understood in that way, and somebody designed it in some other way, programmer is going to write. So people, and then business consultant, they are going to make it in a bigger way, in a very different way. So, and billing section will bill high. So the customer really need is just a simple solution. So different people, it is not just always they are not interested to solve the problem. Sometimes their own experience is going to influence their solutions. So when you have problem understanding, especially in conceptual design, so the first thing is extremely important, that when you, after identifying the problem, decompose the problem and gather the associated data. So problem, whatever is there, we have to find out the sub-problems and gather the data and analyze the problem, use different perspective to analyze, clarify, and removing the mental blocks, understand the problem in depth. Then generalize the problem and try to see if there is some commonality and what is the crux of the problem. And can it be expressed in terms of needs, wishes? Needs means what is exactly required by a user. Wishes are what if it is there, the customer feel more happy, but if it is not there, then also the product is going to serve the requirement of the customers. Solution generation, there are several ways to do solution generation. First of all, it is better that we solve the problem without knowing the solution, existing solution. Then we will get a new solutions, because otherwise we will get influenced. Then search for available solutions, and that can be done from books, internet, journals, experience, colleagues you can ask, experts you can ask, and there are so many websites are there where you can ask also, and generate the solution again. So this is going to help. And for generation, there are a lot of methods are there. Some methods we are going to discuss in this lecture. However, the generation is important, and we go on generating new ideas, and then we go to the next phase, is the solution, evaluation and selection. So in solution selection and evaluation, and selection, the first thing is we have some evaluating criteria. And how we are going to have this criteria? We are going to take some of the criteria which are there in the design problem understanding, that is product design specification, and then rank the solutions. So when we have the rank, we are going to have a ranking method, and then ultimately we are going to select the best solution. So more details will be there later on, and there may not be the best solution. There may be ways to also improve. It is just that we are going to tell this is the solution. This is one of the solutions which has been found out. So now coming to methods, there are several methods, many methods, not only several, there are many methods. Most of the methods are focused towards problem solution generation. However, there are also methods like input-output analysis for problem understanding, QFDs are there, SWOT analysis is there for solution generation. For rank method is there for the solution evaluation. There are so many methods which are available. So some of the methods I have listed down in this slide. Analogies. We found out the analogy between this problem and another problem and try to get some ideas from this. Attribute listing. This is what are the attributes of this problem. Fishbone diagram. This we are going to detail work on. These are mostly used for managers who try to understand what exactly the main cause of a problem is. So cause and effect analysis is done. Gap analysis. So it is mainly used for researchers. So find out the gap in research area. Take the literature, find out the gaps, and then try to do research on those gaps so that it will have a more impact on the knowledge gap. Lateral thinking is another style of thinking. Then there are morphological analysis, trees, theory of inventive problem solving, made by Osler. There, the idea is that he made a lot of analysis of the patents and then find out some solutions, find out a method. So this method is really very good method to use, but this is also, it is a difficult method, long time is required, and is mostly suitable for highly technical problems. Then list pros and cons. Pros and cons is what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages of any product, and then try to reduce the disadvantages, modify it, and those things. Random stimuli. Random stimuli is another interesting method where researchers have found that sometime when the problem is very difficult and you put random stimuli to the designers, sometime, not always, they can find really innovative solutions. So this method is very innovative. However, it is not suitable for all it is very difficult to predict also what kind of solution we are going to find out. So a lot of research is being done in this area. Role storming. Role storming is where you imagine somebody as a role playing for somebody as a customer, and then you find out solution. Scamper, this we are going to discuss more on this. SWOT analysis is again used for my managers, strength, weakness, opportunity, threat. However, in the brainstorming is one of the most popular methods in group. However, small groups also can be use this. We are going to work on this brainstorming method. We are going to use this brainstorming method in this course. Even though brainstorming method has found that sometimes it doesn't give a very specific solution. However, across industry they are going to use it, and people has found that this is one of the most widely used technique, and it's often useful also. Not only for technical solutions, but managers are using for even solving non-technical problems. Okay, and solutions which doesn't require technical effort, then also the people have found the brainstorming is helping in solving a problem. So it is really popular technique. We are going to learn this. Brainwriting is where you write your ideas and then generate solutions. Gallery method is where we can take solutions generated by different people and put it in, like, sticky note in the gallery format, and then you discuss each other's idea and then generate it. Another form of brainstorming, but a little different. Delphi is where people use experienced designers, experienced people. This one. So many of these techniques are there. We're going to discuss some of them only.